Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, passion for excellence.
Here are today's top headlines. BP says it made a massive oil find in the Gulf of Mexico. Muammar Gaddafi designs a sports car. Yeah, that Gaddafi. And GM's CFO says no more cheap interiors in their cars. Up next, we'll be back with the news behind the headlines. This is Autoline Daily for Thursday, September 3, 2009, and now the news. Drill, baby, drill. The New York Times reports that BP made a massive discovery in the Gulf of Mexico. Located about 250 miles off the coast of Texas, the Tiber oil field could contain 3 billion barrels of crude oil and natural gas. Some say 6 billion. BP has to drill down almost 7 miles to get it, making this one of the deepest wells ever. BP already produces 400,000 barrels a day in the Gulf. Now it could go to 650,000, but to put it all in perspective, the U.S. uses 20 million barrels a day. And now we turn to the story that just keeps on going. I'm talking about General Motors and Opel. The Wall Street Journal reports that it looks like GM's going to get €1 billion in aid for Opel from Britain, Spain, and Poland, countries which all have Opel plants. This has GM thinking that now that it's out of bankruptcy and can get its hands on some money, maybe it should kick in cash of its own and not sell Opel. Meanwhile, RHJ, the investment firm that wants to buy part of Opel, just offered more money for it, but the German government says no, it wants Magna to get it. And now it looks like any decision will be pushed back until after elections in Germany. The Financial Times reports that Mini is going to boost production by adding 2 new models to its assembly plant near Oxford. It will build the Mini Coupe that we showed you last week and another unnamed concept vehicle, which we're thinking might be the crossover vehicle which the company showed off last year. The boost in production should bring back about 800 workers to the plant. Supplier company Continental just showed us its active safety technology, which it sees as a growing market. Critics argue this technology is just technological overkill, but Continental counters that there are more and more vehicles out on the road creating more congestion and distractions. Plus, the population is aging and most accidents are caused by driver error. Continental justifies the cost of active safety equipment because you won't need the money to fix your car if it helps you avoid an accident. Chinese auto company Chery will begin selling a plug-in electric car next year in China. According to Bloomberg, the car, called the S18, can travel up to 93 miles, about 150 kilometers on a single charge. They say it's only going to cost about $19,000, and Chery expects to sell 30,000 of these S18s within the next 3 to 4 years. Libyan dictator and allegedly reformed terrorist Muammar Gaddafi may have found his true calling in life. Autoblog reports the colonel has tried his hand at car design. Surprisingly, the Libyan rocket, as it's called, isn't half bad looking. Staying true to its name, the front and back ends of this 5-seat sedan are sharply pointed like a rocket. So why'd he do it if he was the one who really did it? He says safety. Gaddafi wanted to design the safest car produced anywhere. That's right, I said produced. It'll be made in Tripoli, where a factory is set to be built next month. Coming up next, I sit down with GM's chief financial officer to find out if GM can ever make a small car profitably in America.
Changing tires out here could be dangerous, but with these tires, I don't need to worry.
Bridgestone.
To understand what this auto industry is all about, you have to know the companies involved and you have to know the people who run them. Ray Young is the chief financial officer of General Motors. Born in Canada to Chinese parents, he's worked for GM in North America, South America, Europe, and Japan. I recently had the chance to chat with him, and here's a quick interview that covers a lot of topics, starting out with me asking him when GM will start selling stock in the company again.
I think everyone has an objective to try to do the initial public offering or IPO sometime in 2010. Technically speaking, the earliest would be the second quarter after we close our calendar year 2009 books of new General Motors. I think it's fair to say that our entire company is going to be very much focused to get ourselves ready for an IPO next year. But of course, we have to see what the equity markets look like in 2010 to see whether it's going to be receptive for a large public offering of our new GM stock.
I then asked him if, now that GM's gotten rid of most of its legacy costs, will it put more money into developing new cars and stop putting in such cheap interiors?
No, absolutely. And you're actually seeing it right now. The products that you have an opportunity to drive today, look at the interiors. They're quite different than the prior interiors. Great example is the new Equinox. I own a current generation Equinox. I take a look at the new Equinox. The interior is night and day. And I think under Bob Lutz's leadership, what he has done is really emphasize the importance of interiors. And so every product that we're launching right now has magnificent interiors. And so therefore, we are investing. We are reinvesting the cost savings in, for example, the interiors to make sure they're world class.
I also wanted to know if GM is now efficient enough that it can make small cars in the United States and make a profit on them.
No, the answer is yes, and that's the reason why we're going to invest in this new plant here in the United States to build the new small cars. We actually believe that gasoline prices are going to go up in the future. You take a look at, we're still in a recession here in the United States, and the price of gasoline is creeping up. So our assessment is when the world economy starts recovering, gasoline prices will continue to go up, hence the necessity for us to invest in small vehicles. And all of our analysis shows that we can build this small car profitably here in the United States.
Okay, if GM is so efficient, can it break even in the American market when car sales have dropped to their worst level in decades?
Our objective is to have a cost structure where we can break even on an adjusted earnings before interest and taxes basis at roughly a 10 million unit U.S. industry SAAR. And so therefore, from our perspective, this is important because we want to manage the risk of a downside, break even on a downside, and then when the market starts recovering, be able to generate good cash flow to provide an adequate return to our shareholders.
Finally, if and when the car market comes back, is there any hope of GM reopening some of the plants that it closed?
Well, there's always that possibility, and that's the reason why we have certain plants that are labeled on standby status. So if we need to, if the market goes to 17 or 18 million units, then hey, there's an opportunity for us to reopen some of these standby plants.
Again, that was Ray Young, GM's Chief Financial Officer, one of the top leaders at the company. Hey, don't forget to tune in for Autoline After Hours tonight, live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Joining us in the studio will be David E. Davis Jr. for what ought to be a very entertaining evening. And that is it for today's top automotive news. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.